Hey there YouTube, it's Rain here, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about the pre-release. As I've played more and more of the set, I'm beginning to think more and more about which clan I want. I know it was a very easy decision for me before to just say Abzan, but it's becoming harder and harder. The reason I say that is I've come to like Jeskai more and more as I've played the set. The prowess mechanic is a great one. That's not a good example. Let's find a good prowess card. That's not a rare. None in just red, but if you go into blue, I know there's a lot of them. Like Wind Scout, for instance. Turn 4, it's very easily swinging in the air for 3, and non-creature spell is nice. If you play a banner, you get the prowess activation, and if you're playing a lot of prowess guys, it just makes all your non-creature cards all that much better. So I've been thinking about it a lot. Mystic's a good card. Lake Ancient is amazing. Just as good as I thought it was in my initial review. So at this point I'm no longer certain whether or not I'm going to be picking Jeskai or Abzan at the pre-release. I probably will still take Abzan just because it's more natured towards a slower game, but I now am of the opinion that Prowess is a better mechanic than Outlast. So that's something I wanted to let you know. In terms of the other clans and what ups and downs that I've been experiencing with them, the Sultai clan, the black, blue, green clan, is much better than I initially thought. Delve, while it is a slow ability, is okay, and there's a lot of good cards in green, blue, black, especially if you look at the multicolor cards. This guy's great, or is pretty good. Much better than people give him credit for. And just the fact that Sultai has a very strong late game plan and might even have a better plan in the late game than Abzan, though that's up to debate, just means that, you know, I've been more impressed. I thought Sultai was just the worst clan, and now I'm thinking about it more and playing the format more, so Sultai's gone up in my expectations. Mardu, however, has not. It has been just as what I expected. I don't recommend picking Mardu and Sealed at all. I know I didn't really touch on it in my last video. I forgot about Mardu, but the plan of rushing them down with 1/1s and hoping that they just can't beat you before you kill them, or just stall you out into the late game where Mardu's plan is the worst, just makes Mardu a clan that isn't well set up for Sealed. It's better in draft, but not even that much better. So just going over a bit of Mardu though, because red, white, black has the most removal of all the colors. However, there's a lot of cheap removal, and all the colors do have removal, between green having Savage Punch and blue having Singing Bell Strike. There's cheap, low-costed removal in all the colors, so that's not even necessarily something that would put Mardu ahead. And even though it is true that Mardu has the most removal, it's also true that Mardu, well, removal, especially cheap removal, is very good at making you get into the later points of the game. However, Mardu doesn't excel at the later points of the game, so I'm not happy with Mardu. I think the red edition instead of the black edition, the green edition that you get from Abzan just makes Mardu worse than Abzan. And prowess being a much stronger mechanic makes Jeskai decks better than Mardu decks. The one credit I will give to Mardu, though, is the fact that with a lot of bodies and a lot of really spread out boards with the 1/1s, um, it's really hard. They're better against removal than Jeskai and pretty much every other clan, but the plan still just isn't great. And going back to the raid mechanic, which I haven't touched on a lot, the problem with raid is if you don't have good attacks, you still won't have good attacks if you have a raid card in your hand. So raid as a mechanic is very mediocre. It's like in the bottom two of the mechanics for certain. Past that, the other clans, Timur has been as average as I thought it would be, at least from my experience so far. It's just the baseline for a play fat guys on the ground deck. They're not really, they don't do anything special, but it's very hard to beat the sort of amazing ground guys they can have. So I still don't think Timur is a bad choice, and I still will give it the edge over Sultai because having an unbeatable ground board is much to accredit the clan. In terms of the speed of the format and the sorts of boards that I thought were going to be common, the boards where each player has like 3 or 4 creatures and just keeps building up creatures aren't as common as I thought they'd be. The format is faster than I thought it would be, at least in the drafting, that I've done. I thought the format was going to be slow as molasses and slower than M14, but it's looking to be a little faster than that. That said, I still think it's a slow format, so keep that in mind. It is still a very slow format. In terms of what cards have impressed me the most, or cards that I would like to rechange an evaluation of, I'll scroll down really quickly. Feed of Resistance has impressed me so much. So much. It's always been great on every single board I've seen. And it's always been a card that if they have it, I just really have hard times dealing with it and playing around it. At common, geez, like this card has been just as insane as I thought. As much as I've drafted Mardu Horde Chief, I've never actually seen him. I would really like to play with him to see if he seems average, but he seems very decent. Nothing else really changed expectations from White. Cancel, I've seen some people playing. I'm still not impressed. It's won a game, but all seeing this card does is mean that if I happen, however the game goes game 1, then I'll just start dropping my morph guys down faster or my powerful morph guys down faster instead of on curve to just make this cancel a lot worse. And I don't know, I'm just really not impressed. Creeping Chill has been just as good as I thought it would be. So above average, but not amazing. Still have not seen Fade Away, which is disappointing. I really do think that this card is pretty great. Jeskai Elder has been a little underwhelming. I put it purely on average at this point. Wind Scouts impressed me a little bit, but it's still just an okay card. It may be a little above average as opposed to just average, which I said it was before. Mystic has been pretty good. Scion's been just as good as I thought. Don't main deck this. I saw one guy main decking it. It's just not a good option. Except for the blue cards that changed. Dead Drop's gone a little up in my value. Um, it's bad against the Mardu decks though, but against the other decks, it's been pretty solid. Especially if you have cheap removal. Cheap removal will put cards in your graveyard to enable this. It will get you into the later points of the game, which also enables this. So, been pretty impressed. Debilitating Injury kills morph guys. The problem with that is you don't know really what you're going to get. There are a lot of okay 2 toughness creatures, so it's been okay. Some cards I still want to play a little more to find out if they impress me or not. Bloodsucker. Swiftwing I haven't played in an Abzan deck yet, but I really want to try it out. This guy's impressed me. He's still very average, but I thought he was below average. Raider Spoils, if you take a look at my Abzan draft video, I thought this card was wholly unplayable, but I found a deck for it. So there is a potential deck for this card. Swarm of Bloodflies, I had a game where this card was very good, but I'm still sticking to the fact that it's just a little slow. This guy has impressed me a lot though. The 4 mana 3/3 with that can gain first strike. He's just pretty hard to block. He's very hard to attack into. I mean, this guy's been very solid, above average. Going into red, Arc Lightning has impressed me. I thought it was decent removal, but against like Jeskai decks especially, where they're playing if they have like 2 Jeskai Wind Scouts, geez, you can get some blowouts with that card. Or if they just have like a Wind Scout and a Morph creature. Like, this is a 2-for-1 more than I thought it would be, but I still think it's mostly a 1-for-1. Aerostorm's kind of impressed me. Bring Glow has been very good. This guy's been a little underwhelming. Little below average as opposed to the average that I thought he was. Swift Kick's been a little worse than I thought. It typically is not making the cuts of my decks just because you don't need a card like this. There are just so many better options. Straight into green, Become Immense, lost to it once, I'm still a little salty about that. But Become Immense with Mystic of the Hidden Way killed me once when I was going to kill him next turn. I was at 9. But I'm still sticking to this as below average. It becomes above average in some decks though. I still really want to play this guy. He's very good, but I want to see if he's amazing. Sagu Archer has impressed me. There are a lot of 1 toughness flyers with much more power than that, and flipping this guy as a surprise against those flyers and just eating them. So this guy's been pretty impressive. Somewhere between average and above average, but closer to average. Savage Punch has impressed me. Playing it main phase 1, killing their important guy, and getting in an extra 2 damage that turn. So it's been more aggressive than I thought, but this card has impressed me as much as I thought, and a little more so for the damage you can force through. Still really want to try out Seek the Horizon to see if it's good or bad. Flayer is better than I thought. Just simply going on 4 mana 3/4, awesome. Wooly Loxodon. Now this is the card that I changed opinion of the most probably. This guy is very good. Attacking with this guy, you're often gonna get a card by surprising your opponent with 6 lands. He comes down early, so the 6/7 for expensive amount means less. And just, this has been very, very solid. Even had like the random addition of Warrior to the creature type for cards like Raider Spoils. You flip this guy up with Raider Spoils out, you get 7 damage in or kill their guy, and then you just draw a card if you got through. Cheese. Like, this is above average as opposed to the below average I put for it before, which is a big change. This card is still very underrated. And so is this one. This, I've said in another video, it reminds me of Supply Line Cranes as a 5 mana 6/6 with upside, because you can put the counters on himself. The upside is even better than Supply Line Cranes was though, because of the synergy and Abzan that you can get. This guy's been very good. With incremental growth, it gets even better, because with incremental growth it's not a May, so getting 2 bodies, pretty nice. Chief of the Edge has been a little worse than I thought. Simply the 2 toughness is pretty rough, but it's still been very good. Chief of the Scale has impressed me. I still haven't played with it yet, but just the boards that I've seen, a 2 mana 2/3 is already really great, and has upside too, which is nice. This guy's impressed me, Efreet Weapon Master. Playing around this card's very hard. Oftentimes I block it and just say, well, it's probably Efreet Weapon Master. I'm going to be taking a lot of damage, and I'm going to be losing the guy I blocked with. So it's been rather unfortunate to play against. So above average. High Spire Mantis, very, very impressive card. I don't think it really changed for me. I already thought this card was very impressive. Ice Feather Aven, a little worse than I thought. Well, I already thought this card was worse than a lot of people thought it was, but it's about where I thought it would be. It's pretty slow. The tempo isn't incredibly important. 2 mana, 2/2 flyers aren't insane. Still haven't played against this card. Kintree Invocation has felt very good in the Abzan decks and in the Sultai decks, I assume. Just, there are a lot of creatures skewed towards toughness, and this is going to be more often than not 2 mana for at least a 3/3, but very easily a 5/5 or 6/6, just with like 1/5s and such. Mardu Ascendancy, I had a chance to play with it and against it. It's been better than bad, but it hasn't been good. I'm putting it at below average instead of very bad, so keep that in mind. The sacrifice has been okay. The 1/1s haven't been very relevant, so yeah. Still haven't had a chance to see this, still haven't had a chance to see this. Ponyback Brigade, I got to play with 3 of these. This guy is much better than I thought. I wasn't giving him a fair evaluation before. 3 power at instant speed for 5, along with the upside of a 2/2, is quite nice. Oftentimes I'm morphing him on turn 4 in hopes to flip him turn 5. to trade off 2 of my 1/1s for their guy, or just get some 1/1s. It's not great, but it's above average. Sagu Muller got the chance to play with this guy. Just gonna say he's great with Savage Punch. These fists aren't just there for show, I'll tell you. Scratch their face off. Still really want to play with this. CDC's been better than I thought, but not amazing. Nope, none of these have really changed. People still underrating the Soothsayer. With a lot of these effects, you don't actually get a card in your hand, but with this, you get to have selection of 4 cards. So this is always getting you a card of value when you play it, if not more. And it enables Delve so well. I'm a fan of this card, and so many people underrate it. Timur Charm's been a little underwhelming, simply because we have Savage Punch in the format, and it's probably better. It's easier to cast, and the ability you're using most of the time is this fight. However, it's probably a little better than Savage Punch still, simply because it has the mana leak ticked onto it. So, gonna certainly be better in sealed, because countering bombs, the potential of doing that's important. Warden of the Eye has been above average. Winter Flame has been great. This card, I've never seen it not kill a creature and get in some damage. So 1 for 1 that gets in some damage. Very above average, somewhere between above average and excellent. Still haven't played against this. The problem I have with Helmsmaster is there's a lot of blue that's very good against this card. Blue is like the way to deal with this. Winter Flame, kill a Morph guy, prevent your Zergo from attacking. Or, heck, your Zergo gets an attack, I'll kill your Zergo on my next turn. Creeping Chill, tapping it for 2 turns and not even losing a card. And especially Singing Bellstrike is like the #1 way to deal with Zergo Helmsmaster, and it's at common. The other colors don't have an absurdly hard time dealing with it. There's a lot of just Feet of Resistance can prevent you from getting a hit in with it and not losing a creature to it, which isn't great, I'll admit. Killshot's a little awkward against it. But cards like Smite and Suspension Field, you're going to lose a guy to get the Suspension Field on it, which is not great, but manageable, and Smite the Monstrous on your turn. It's a great way to deal with it. So, I mean, all the colors really have what they need to deal with this. The question is if they draw it. But I'm not putting him at my #1 clan leader anymore. So I'm going to go over the clan leaders real quick. There's Anafenza, which I'm putting at #1. This is coming down turn 3 or 4 most likely. And geez, when it does. A lot of synergy with this first ability. Next up, I am putting the Timur clan leader. Though he might even be first place. What's his name? Surak Dragonclaw. 5 mana, 6/6 flash, they can't stop. Just bomby. Third place for sure. What else is there? Third place is a little tougher. I'm going to give it to Zergo Helmsmaster still. Despite the number of answers, this guy's still very decent. Fourth place, I'm going to give to Narset now. Just seeing how the Jeskai decks pan out. The combination of First Strike and Hexproof. This should be very decent. And lastly, I'm going to I know I said I like the card more, but I'm still going to give it to the Sultai clan leader. I forgot her name. It's the 4-mana 3/3 that mills you 3. They're all very good though. Don't get me wrong. They've all exceeded my expectations with the exception of Zergo Helm's Master, which has gone down a lot. And Wizards has done a fairly decent job at balancing them and keeping them on flavor. I can see people liking CDC more than Narset, but I think Narset might be a little better than I give her credit for. Alright, that's it for the video. I hope I helped your decisions a little bit for the pre-release, but regardless of what you pick, just play what you want and be happy. The only clan I feel like you come into the pre-release with a disadvantage with is Mardu. But if you want to play it, you can play it. I'm not saying you can't. Alright, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.